Greetings, Mike here. Today I want to show you how you can use these Joseph Marples sliding bevel gauge kits to make your very own sliding bevel gauges. Of course, you could buy a sliding bevel gauge. They're everywhere and they're cheap, but there's something to be said about making your own. You can use some fancy wood that you've had lying around. Plus, also when you use a tool that you have made, it inspires you to do better work. So here's a couple ones that I made. Here's just a standard bevel gauge, and here's one that where I used the brass pieces that come in the kit too. And so let me show you what the kit looks like. So you can get, first thing you can get the blades separate. These are spring steel blued blades. They're really nice. They're fantastic. I mean, you can make a blade. Some kits or projects call you to make your own blade out of brass, where you cut a groove and all that, but don't do that. Just buy a blade. There's a couple bucks. And they're really nice. And they're about the same thickness as a bandsaw blade. So when you cut the slot down there, they'll work really well for that. Here's the brass components. It comes with two of these rounded ends here, and then another piece for the bottom side of the body. And then it has a nice knob and a screw and a knurled knob. And they're about 1/8 of an inch thick, so they're pretty robust. They're really thick brass. It's really nice. So if you want to make the basic version, okay, a couple of things. Size of the base. There's 7.5, 9, and 10. The 7.5 one calls for a 5-inch base, 5 inches long, 5/8 thick, inch wide. That's what the base should be. The other two sizes wants a 6-inch long base, 5/8 thick, 1 inch wide. So that's kind of standard. Now you can obviously change that to suit your needs, but you have to be careful when you use this kit. This knob is only so long, so it can only reach to about 3/4 of an inch thickness. Other than that, it won't work. So don't do that. So when you want to make a basic, the basic bevel gauge, you just cut your piece to the size you want. Then I shape it first, and then I cut my groove on the bandsaw. Now my bandsaw blade was just a little thinner than the thickness of the blade, so when I cut it, it was tight. And then I moved the fence over just slightly, and it would start to cut here, and then I got about halfway through, the blade would just slip back into the same groove. So no matter what I did, I couldn't get this bottom part to widen. So what I did is I took some tape, and I put about 3 pieces of tape on the bottom side here that was against the fence. And then when I did it, it didn't cut any deeper at this side, but it got deeper as I went farther down the slot. So that was a great strategy to get the slot the right width. Then, obviously you want to cut your hole and your countersink before you cut the slot. And one thing I will say, there's a lot of really crappy countersinks out there. Get a good countersink, because if this is all chewed up, it's not going to look good. So I either have one here, it has a 1/4 inch brad point bit with the countersink. It's kind of expensive. It's like 35 bucks, made by Fuller. Or you can get one of our single flute countersink bits. You drill your hole first, and then you use this countersink, and it actually just slices the countersink, so it doesn't tear it up. There's no chattering. It does a really beautiful job. So these are worth their money. So that's really helpful to have when you make this kit. And then once you do that, you just sand it down. I actually just have a board with sandpaper on, or a 6-inch sanding disc, and I'll just sand it down to 220. And sometimes I'll sand just a little bit inside the groove here to take out any of the little fuzz from the bandsaw. And then you got a bevel gauge. You put your screw in there and you lock it down. One thing to keep in mind, though, we've got to be careful, is to make sure that your blade sits proud of your base. Because if you use this to set like your table saw blade, if that blade is sunken in there, it'll mess with you. So make sure your blade sticks above just a little bit. So basically, you got to put your slot, if you're at a 1-inch wide piece, you want to put it back about 7/16, not a full half, about 7/16, so that this blade will stick proud. So that's important when you make one without the kit. When you do the kit, it's all set for you. So there's the basic model. If you want to do one like this with the brass pieces in here, you have to first get a blank. So this one's 5 inches long, and I made it a little wider. These pieces are about 1 inch. I made it a little wider, about 1 1/16 inch, to give me a little bit to grind off. And when I made the depth of this little shelf here, I made it so where the brass sticks up just a little bit. And there's a reason for that. When they punch these are punched, that leaves a little round, it's a little rounded here. I don't want that to be down toward the bottom. I want because it doesn't give me as tight of a, see right there, it doesn't give me a nice of a shoulder there. So I put the rounded part up, and then and this is proud. So then when I grind it off, I will grind that flush, and it'll be a nice meat between the wood and the brass. And then I cut this. So I cut the part here, and then the bottom side's a different size, same thickness brass. It's just a shorter shelf you got to cut. And then I drill it out. I drill it a little bigger than the knob. This knob's 1/4 inch, so I drill it at 5/16. And then I glue this together. Now you have to clean, if you use any kind of oily wood, you got to clean this off with like denatured alcohol, like the teak. I had to clean it with lacquer thinner to take the oils off. And you have to use epoxy. Don't use super glue for here. Epoxy is what's going to hold. And the thing that happens with epoxy is once you put epoxy on there, it is going to be like oil on there. It's going to slip in everywhere. It's going to be really hard to clamp it. The first couple ones I tried to clamp it and it didn't go well. So here's what I do now. I take this tape, this green tape from 3M. This stuff stretches. I don't know if you can see that. It actually elongates. So I take the tape and I put my epoxy on it, and then I'll stretch my tape and I'll lay it down there. And what it does is then it pulls those pieces together, and that gives me a nice clamp. And then I can kind of tear off my tape and I can put it on the other side, and that will actually hold my pieces in place. Because really important, you want this shoulder line to be nice and crisp. You want that joint to be nice. You don't want there to be any gaps. And then when you get it all, when you do the other side, you can actually take a piece of tape and you can wrap it around. Oh, sorry. And you can wrap it around here and hold them nice and tight. Let the tape do the work. Tape is all you need. And then once you get the tape on and everything's there, then you can actually slide these pieces side to side and get them centered. And that eliminates the need to clamp. So you let this dry for a day. It takes a day for epoxy to dry before you can sand it. And then I would go to the bandsaw and I would, no, not the bandsaw, I'd go to my belt sander. Use my belt sander down there. And I would sand this flush on all 4 sides and even the bottom. Now, brass sands really quickly, but it gets hot. You got to be careful. If you get the brass too hot, you can weaken the epoxy bond. So you got to sand a little bit, sand a little bit. And another trick, if it gets too hot, just lay it on your table saw bed, and it'll be like a heat sink. It'll suck the heat right out of it and put it in your table saw. It'll cool it down quicker. So I sand all the sides, and then I go to the bandsaw and I knock that little corner off there, that little bit of wood, and then I'll sand around the top and get my profile there. And then the bottom, I actually took it to the saw and I just kind of rocked it side to side, gave me a nice little round there. So it's pretty nice. So when this is all sanded, then you can put your slot in there from the bandsaw. Basically, I just go to the bandsaw and actually eyeball the center, and then I just ran it through, and then I flipped it around and ran it through again. And if you find that the slot doesn't widen toward the bottom here because it slips back in the slot, use that tape trick I showed you where you put a little tape shim on here, and it'll help you get the slot widened in the middle. But maybe your bandsaw blade is wide enough without two cuts. I don't know, but mine isn't. It's a real thin blade. So once you get done with that, I take a 6-inch sticky back sanding disc. I like Cubitron because it's made from metal. Put it on my table saw or something flat, and I just go back and I just sand it all down, and I'll sand out all the scratch marks left from the belt sander, get it down to about 220. And I'll do what you call graining. That means you're putting a grain to the brass. So the brass has nice straight lines in it, and you grain it like that, and then you're ready to finish it. Well, then I actually go through and I'll just knock off the corners, and I'll take a little piece of sandpaper and I'll stick it down inside the groove and just kind of knock out any fuzz left from the bandsaw cut. Then you're good to go. You can assemble it, put a finish on it of your choice, and you can assemble it, and you have this bevel gauge made from whatever wood you wanted, and it is so nice. It's very nice. So there you have it. There's a quick and dirty on how to make a sliding bevel gauge from the Joseph Marples sliding bevel gauge kits.